entertaining short story about a father and grandfather who absolutely has the last laugh decades after his harpy ex-wife did everything she could to make his divorce horrible and turn the kids against him. Fast forwarding time, he's reconnecting with the kids and now grandkids, and he's doing great, and let me tell you, things aren't going too well for her. And I've been going to go over here, guys, about guys having the last laugh and how never ever feel bad about laughing and taking pleasure in those that absolutely maliciously did you wrong when they're not doing so well. Titled, I just had what should have been the happiest week of my life, but I get more joy knowing how miserable my ex-wife is. And a shout out to Max for sending in the story. And now listen to this. It says some background here because there's a lot. I married my ex in 1981. We had 3 children, 2 boys and a girl in the middle. In 1989, she and the kids left my life. There's a whole lot to unravel in the statement, but basically that was the last time I saw them for a very, very long time. That is horrible. I provided money that was spent by her, not for the kids. And in the end, I put money into trust for their education, tried to reach out, etc., and was rebuffed at every single turn. Well, that is horrible. And if he had adult children that were still had nothing to do with him, I would, if he's obviously the one in charge of the trust, nope, you're not getting the money. In 2018, my daughter reached out to me to clear the air. 2018, 30 freaking years later, but we'll focus on the positive. She was on her second divorce, and as part of therapy, finally got it through her head that I was not to blame. You think? Gee, the acorn doesn't fall far from the tree. My ex had filled their minds with stories, lots of stories, and horrible misinformation. We talked, reconnected, wounds weren't healed but addressed. In 2019, we met and I hugged my adult daughter for the first time. 30 freaking years. My God. We kept a good relationship since. She conveyed my sentiments to my oldest and youngest sons. My oldest began tenuous communication. My youngest did not. The last time he saw me, he was 2 years old. That is such a shame. But this is what these ex-wives do. And this was back in the 80s when it was obviously a lot harder in some aspects, depending where you live for the guys. But I'm wired different. I could see where kids are manipulated by their mothers for a bunch of crap. But as adults, if they wanted nothing to do with me and didn't give me a chance, I'd be like, nope, forget it. But that's his choice. Well, COVID and everything came and blah, blah, blah. And my daughter, after 2 failed marriages and 2 sons, told me she was in love again with a woman. I was supportive. I was there for her. A little more than a week ago, there was their wedding. Gee, I wonder how this... So suddenly after 2 dudes, now she's on to a girl. Okay, let's see how this goes. But that's not the main focus of the story. As part of the wedding, her brother, my son, and his wife, and 3 beautiful daughters, my granddaughters, flew in from California, and I had a video chatted with them a few times. But at the airport, I waited and got to hug my granddaughters for the very first time. I got to shake my son's hand. I met my daughter-in-law that I had never met. The wedding was a sweet affair. My daughter asked me to walk her down the aisle since I had missed the 2 previous times. Because of her. Her spouse is a delight. My youngest showed up. At the reception, I got to dance with my daughter, and better I danced with each of my granddaughters. There is still a long road to go, but things are mended with my oldest. I spent a good chunk of my time sipping with very expensive scotch with my youngest. It isn't mended, but it's better. This is a very forgiving guy when it comes to his kids. Again, I am wired different. People can say, so you don't have kids, you don't know. No, I know myself, and I know my heart. Okay, I can get how the kids are manipulated, but as adults, no. That's nice they're patching things up now, but still. I've been like, nope, F you. But I'm glad he's happy. The next day, I took my oldest and his family to brunch. Smack! I hate brunch. Go to breakfast. Or lunch, but don't do in the middle. I surprised them on their flight home by upgrading him and his wife to first class and gave my granddaughters Amazon gift cards to make up for a lot of missed Christmases and birthdays. It doesn't replace them, but it's a start. Yeah, but it's not your fault that you missed them, dude. I should be the happiest man because of that last week. My heart is aglow. And this is the part that kills me, all the joy, all the new memories. I get more pleasure seeing the shape my ex-wife is in. Here we go. You mean lack of shape that she's in. She left me in 1989, And in 1999, she arranged a meeting at a mall parking lot to see the kids, not much grown. And they weren't there. She was. She screamed at me, made a scene. The kids were there in the car halfway across the parking lot with her then husband to watch the whole thing. She invented a story and narrative about how I abandoned them. I kept my receipts. I pulled a few out last weekend. I didn't want to. So 10 years later, after the divorce, she had doubled down to make him look bad. The second she started, I wouldn't have met with her, but the second she started screaming, boom, walk away. She didn't go to the rehearsal dinner because I was there and claimed she had important business to do. She showed up for the wedding 30 seconds before the start, wearing white, having her current husband, Ray, wheel her in a wheelchair. She had to stop to say hi to everyone. It held things up. This was her moment after all. She's a narcissistic a-hole, and she wore white to the wedding. I know enough to know that's a big no-no. I'm not body shaming or anything, but just saying the truth. When we were together, she was a hot piece. The jazzercise of the 1980s, power salads, you name it. Only it was never for me, but others. She is now obese. Her hair is falling out in patches. She got ugly. The wheelchair, the walker, it's all fake. I saw her moving to the car without help. My daughter knows the truth. My oldest is warming up. My youngest harbors a lot of abandonment issues. Guys, I think that's hilarious. Somebody does you wrong, down the road if they're suffering in some way, I say enjoy every minute of it. I know some people go down that path, gonna be the bigger person. Fuck that. That's bullshit. Evildoers, malicious people, and there can be a lot of gray sometimes between good and bad, but we all know somebody is just nasty and malicious. They deserve to suffer, and it's fun to watch. But that's how I'm wired. At the reception, I tried to be the bigger man. Smack! I wouldn't have. And went over to say hi. I told her it was good to see her. Smack! Why would you do that, dude? Come on. She chose to spit venom. See? I could see her staring daggers at me, absolute daggers, as I danced with our grandchildren. She tried to disrupt every conversation I was having with our kids. She blew up when she found out I was conversing with the kids. Of course. That's the only thing she has left is her hatred and misery. And she just painted this picture that this guy's the villain. Apparently she screamed at the DJ that there wasn't enough recognition of the mother of the bride, whatever that means. She tried to shoehorn herself into every single picture. Well, it probably takes a shoehorn to get her ass in her clothing. She made a scene leaving during the last dance. I ended up having a drink at the bar with Ray. It took about 10 seconds for him to realize the lies he were told were not true. I could see the pain in his eyes. Well, that's nice and all, but again, this asshole, and his kids were all assholes as adults, had nothing to do with him. Never even gave the guy a chance to talk, just his side of the story. He's a hardworking guy, getting taken for a ride. I don't want to brag, but she could have had it all. The kids could have had it all. Their apartment is on the second floor, and he helps carry her up the stairs. In a moment, fueled by whatever, I told him the worst is yet to come. Oh, Ray, my bad. Ray isn't his son. Ray is her husband. I could go on. I could really go on. I got to meet families I hadn't seen in decades, and I met people for the first time. I got to see my daughter get married, my granddaughters. I have no words. I miss so much of their lives, but now I'm there. I downloaded Snapchat to keep in touch with them. But I feel like crap because with all this joy, knowing how miserable my ex is brings me a smile to my face. God, I hate it. And there you go. So, guys, it is always a good one to hear a good guy get the last laugh, and it's especially when it's some a-hole ex-wife. I mean, what a piece of crap. Deprived her kids of a good man because she's pissed off whatever it happens to be. But that's oftentimes how it can go with people like this. But with someone that does that to you, would you go up and say hi to them at a fucking wedding years later? No. He says she spit venom at him. I'd be spitting something at her. But the fact that she's an obese and all her hair's falling out and she's miserable, that's funny. I think that she deserves it. End of story. Watch him suffer. But now she's miserable because he's now reconnecting with the kids. But it's just such a shame that he missed all those years. But we can go back and forth on. Some people would say, well, you know what? They're manipulated as kids, and that impacted them as adults, and da-da-da-da. But I see when they're kids, okay. They're kids. They're easily swayed by their mother and all that, and under her thumb. But as adults, you got to think for yourselves. But then again, let's be honest here, most people don't have the brain power to think for themselves or the balls to do it. Let everybody else do the thinking. But anyhow, this guy's happy. I'm happy. And it's always good to hear a good last laugh revenge story.